Good morning and welcome to Perspectives. Today on Perspectives, we'll be looking at calls by prominent Nigerians on the Nigerian situation. Yes, drums of war being sounded all across the country. The minorities are saying their own. We also have the regions talking about why they want to pull out. And it is getting to a disturbing level, as some people are saying today. And so, Nigeria, way forward. And this calls by these prominent Nigerians, General Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria, and Tanko Yakasai, another was a special advisor in the Shehu Shagari administration. They've put, Nigeria in perspectives and talked about why we must not allow Nigeria to go. Now, this calls by these prominent Nigerians, and of course, other Nigerians have made their call on the need for Nigeria to stay together. Though in tongue and tribe we differ, but the unity of this country would make us a better people. And in our diversity, we also find strength. And so, what are these agitators up to? Okay, and examples have been made of other nations of the world who have gone their separate ways and up to this moment are still finding it hard to pick the pieces of living together. Yugoslavia would come here, as a country to look at. Sudan too, with the North Sudan, South Sudan, and what is happening there too, will also come to mind in Africa. And the Rwandan experience too must be brought in. But again, the drums of war being sounded. And some people are saying that those that are sounding the drums of war may not just know what war is all about. For Nigeria, the 67 to 70 war is one that, we would not want to remember. Of course, it was there. But again, what came out of that war? And can we afford another one? And if we have to go our separate ways, what would it take for us to go our separate ways, and what are the areas that we may want to be saying as where we will all be losers here? And these are issues raised about the Nigerian situation. Successive governments have had their fair share about the unity of Nigeria, and of course it cannot be placed on the doorstep of the present administration. No, it must be traced back, and that's what we may be looking at this morning. And my guest is a public affairs analyst, is a commentator on national and international issues, and he is also one of the strong hands in the program Ground Zero. I'm talking about Eddie Ochigbo. Eddie Ochigbo, good morning and glad to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toyola, for having me.
Yes, when you hear the calls, and it's coming on very strong now, the drums of war being sounded, and it's getting to a very worrisome level now as we are talking about it. What comes to your mind when some people talk about let's go our separate ways, is war looms and all of that, and just taking an overlook at what this is all about.
Thank you very much. It's really, really disturbing and worrisome. As a child that experienced a war, because I was 10 when the war stopped in 1970, and the kind of things I saw as a child makes it very, very, very worrisome. We just can't afford another war, given the strength and the position of Nigeria, not only in Africa but in the world, a nation of 200 million people. Assuming there is war now, God forbid, which country on earth can hold us as refugees? So some of these people who are agitating and calling for war, they should think back that we lost almost 3 million people, 3 million Igbos during the Civil War, which lasted for 30 months from 1967 to 1970. And as a child of a soldier, we were the people that are used to experiment the 3 R's of Gowon: reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. At that time, they brought we children, there's this Apaukwa Municipal Primary School in Enugu. That was what they used to do that experiment, bringing us together to start that reconciliation. And I know my Igbo classmates, how wretched and hungry they looked. And, in fact, lizard was a delicacy. You can only find lizard then in the barracks in Enugu. I will smuggle some of them in to kill lizards. That's just shortly after the end of the war, when they brought us together to learn. Initially, they were just building classrooms, trying to bring us together. We are sitting on gas cylinders. At that time, gas cylinders are something you use and throw away. So we'll go to the officers' mess then and pick it, sit under the tree, and that was how we started education. So all those who are calling for war, must tread with caution. Because our strength as a country is that diversity that we've been able to manage for almost 61 years. Yes, agreed that without justice, without equity, without fairness, people got to agitate. But agitation should not lead to war. Rather than war, we should judge up, like the elders and elder statesmen and eminent religious leaders are trying to do now. My wish is that the president should, be on the same page with these elders and see how these issues can be resolved in a friendly manner. Those who feel aggrieved, we should talk. There's nothing wrong with talking. You cannot beat a child and ask him not to cry. That crying is that negotiation, talking until we get it right. But right now, there is existential threat of this country. If we are not careful, especially our political leadership, who have brought us to this mess that we find ourselves today, if we are not careful, we can fall from that high height that we think we are and to the ground. But the victims will be the poor people who cannot run away. But the rich people already, they are preparing their way to fly out of this country. Some even have private jets. They will run away and then leave the poor man, to face the mess, going all over. Is it Niger that will hold us as refugees, or Chad or Cameroon, who have enough of their own problems?
The question that may come to mind again is that we are at the height of it. Some people say at the brink, and just a little push over, could just mess it all up. But again, Eddie, how did we get here?
Like I told you, I said we got here because leadership failed us, failed the people.
Would it be this present leadership that's the heat of it, or it has been successive?
It has started right from this what we called nascent democratic experience. But today, at 21, do we still call this democracy nascent? It's no longer nascent. But we are faced with very serious issues because our political leadership have not been able to address the situation in the country, especially issues concerning unemployment, issues concerning our youths. Can you imagine that the youths between the ages of 18 to 22, 51% of them are unemployed? That is a bomb. They are there as a reservoir for recruitment into anything. So the kidnapping, the banditry, the robbery, commotion and fighting, destroying, public property and the rest of them owes much to the number of unemployed youths that we have. These are some of the things that should be addressed. And what led to it, as I said, it still boils down to the leadership who were not forward-looking. Right when we started this experience in 1998, they were not forward-looking and look. Rather than hide money, steal to this, let's see how we make our people comfortable. Now if you look at the issues today, now, the only thing that we can say in the 6 years of Buhari is that there are issues of infrastructure. But what do you do with infrastructure when you are sick, hungry, tired, and living in abject poverty? What will infrastructure give you when you cannot buy rice, gari? Gary, just the cheapest, what we used to call staple food for the poor, today is out of the reach of the ordinary man. You and me, even as we are, we find it difficult to afford Gary, rice, and the rest of it. That ought not to be. That ought not to be. And I pray that this last-ditch effort being made to address the situation by elders and statesmen and eminent religious people will pay off. If it doesn't pay off, I'm sorry that we can, fall from that brink that we are now.
Now, let me bring in the person of President Olusegun Obasanjo. 21 years of this nascent democracy, he was part of it.
He started it.
8 years, he started it.
Yes.
And today, having been veteran too in the war front,
the surrender was. The surrender to him.
And so had seen the war and had said, in his recent listing that he does not want to again be part of any war, that Nigeria cannot stand it. But the question being asked that he was part of the movements to this 21 years of our democracy, and in his time, just how much effort was put in trying to, for national integration and finding a path or a course for Nigeria to follow, to pass through as a united nation.
Essentially, that is why I put the blame on the political leadership from 1999. We shouldn't be where we are today. He is part of the problem. The only person I can give a credit is the late Yaradua, who tried to address issues as they come and then, at least calm tension down. You remember the Niger Delta agitation and the rest, the way he handled it. Obasanjo, being the person that laid the foundation for this present democratic dispensation we are experiencing, did not help matters. He has not been able to help matters, but now he has seen that yes, mistakes were actually made, and that's why they are running helter-skelter now, and to see how they will patch up.
Would it be right to say that this administration is compounding on the issues of...
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And that's why people like Obasanjo, Yakase, Sultan of Sokoto, and Khan leadership and the rest of them are now trying to see where do we go from here. Because it seems, as you said, that this present Buhari-led administration is compounding issues because it's talking tough. It's talking down on the people. Presidency or a president should inspire. It should encourage, not to talk down on the people. When I say the people, I mean Nigerian people. All the Nigerian people are surprised that today, Buhari, who wrote on the back of the poor, today does not really seem to want to look at what is happening to the poor. Perhaps because they have this argument that when he came, the oil, everything is on oil. We have resources all over. Why must we put our attention only on oil? Why can't we harness all these resources? Gold, whatever, what do you call it? Why must the attention be on oil? Going to Abuja to share oil money every month. Is that how we will survive? So this administration is compounding issue because it's talking down on the people. And without justice, fair play and equity, we will continue to run around this circle. So there is need to address the people. Address the people. Democracy is about the people. It's not about the privileged few who don't know what is happening. Because it seems that the leadership, the presidency, they don't really know what Nigerians are facing. And I'm really, really emotional about this because if you go down to the grassroots, go to the hinterland, that's where you will see suffering of the people. And even today now, it's even difficult to move. You cannot even travel. You cannot go around. Because most of us Nigerians, we do buying and selling little business to survive. And that involves movement. Today, kidnappers have taken over the ungoverned spaces. You can't move, thereby compounding the issues that we face today. So this government has compounded it. The blame is not solely on them. Started from 1999. And the only person I singled out for having been able to address the challenges at this time was Yaradua. But all other people, I don't see how they address it. Everybody seems to be talking about what will I grab. Look at the situation we are facing today. They are talking about 2023, my brother, when the country is totally disorganized. There's looming disintegration and insurrection. And people are talking of who will become president, how zoning and the rest of it. Is that the way to go? Rather than come together and say, come, our country is sick. How do we, treat this sickness as facing all of us? I think that should be the way to go.
I want to look at our institutions and the institutions, very institutions, strong institutions that we once had. I just said we once had. They're turning out to be very weak now, and so the weakness of the institutions. I'm looking at the judiciary, INEC. I'm also looking at the National Assembly and how much they have, how much they have, the damage they have done too in the path to disintegration of Nigeria.
Exactly. What we have today are just weak institutions, strong individuals, strong politicians who dictate to institutions rather than institutions dictating to them. And that leads to dictatorship. Everything now, unfortunately, everybody is facing Abuja President Buhari. He alone cannot. And people are talking about him alone because we do not even have institutions again. I don't even want to regard them as institutions. They are just there in name. Weak, looking up what would the president tell us to do, and that is wrong. Democracy involves checks and balances, and without strong institutions there will be no checks and balances, and makes the situation more dire for us, because we do specifically the National Assembly, especially the Senate President, who has said that whatever the president, the executive brings, is ready to accept it. But he gave it a caveat, but I consider such caveat as weak, saying that as long as it represents, what will be better the lot of Nigerians. What is there now today that's bettering the lot of Nigerians? And then you say they bring anything, we just approve. The National Assembly is there to perform oversight functions, to put the executive on check, to even perform oversight on the judiciary. Today the judiciary is almost crippled because the executive have pocketed it. Even at the state level, the Jilsum people, they just called off their almost 2 months old or more than 2 months old strike yesterday or so, because of people who are bent on destroying the institutions. If you destroy the judiciary, would there be a country? You hold up the funding of the judiciary. You say that you don't want them to be independent in terms of this. What are you talking about? It means that you want to dictate. That you want to say, okay, if you don't do this, I'll not release money to you. It's not supposed to be like that. That issue of making a judiciary independent, especially financially, is germane. It's a germane thing that it should be part of the discourse or the whatever they want to discuss now. Strengthen the institutions like the judiciary. INEC looks up to the president. INEC chairman is appointed by the president rather than maybe an independent body or the National Assembly. I don't even want to talk about the National Assembly because they are not even representing the people that voted them. They are essentially the engine of democracy, those in the National Assembly. But today they are contributing to the problem we find ourselves because they seem to have run out of ideas on why they are there as people's representatives.
Some people will look at 2023 as still a long way to come.
It's not long, it's less than 2 years.
All right, again, but with what has happened, with the agitations that we have on ground now, and some people not believing that Nigeria can hold, what's the future to look at, come 2023?
The future to look at now is now. Is to look at now, especially the efforts that have been made now to see how the commotion, the hula baloo all over the place, that if you don't address it, there can't be 2023. And if there's no 2023, there can't be Nigeria. Because there's no way for Buhari to continue after 8 years. Somebody else has to, take over, to be elected, to take over from him. But the signals, very dangerous signals we are facing today, where INEC offices, more than 44 of them have been burnt down, card readers burnt, police stations and police officers killed, and those things are very terrible signals that if it's not addressed, I'm sorry, there will be no 2023 that they are all clamoring for now. Everybody is positioning himself, for 2023 when the country is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. How would there be 2023? I just can't imagine, except we address some of these serious challenges, existential threats that is facing Nigeria. We have to address it before we can talk about 2023. Anybody talking about 2023 convention is just wasting his time, because people will not even come out to vote. You will hear of issues of boycotting elections and so on, and that brings about anarchy. So some of these challenges has to be addressed before we talk about 2023.
The regions, and I'm talking about what is coming out from the southeast, southwest, the north, and again, a new dimension has been put into all of this, and that's the middle belt region, because they're saying that they are not, should not be seen as part of the north. Another geographical expression that we're having here, and agitations are coming from all of these regions. And again, what has happened along the line in trying to create a bond between the regions and between the Nigerian people? What's the suspicion and disaffection, and how it has come to, really erode our sense of unity and sense of belonging now? Who's doing that? Again, if you look at the governors, the states, what they are doing, and when you come to federal level, where must we find dialogue, to really address the situations that we have now?
The dialogue that you are talking about must start from justice and equity, fairness. People who are saying that no, I don't want to be part of this thing, they have not been treated fairly. If you are treating somebody fairly, will he want to say that no, you cannot be part of you? If there is no inclusion, and all you have is exclusion, and some people are considered second-class citizens, while others are first-class citizens. In a democracy, there is a government of the people, for the people, by the people. There must be agitation. I must say, no. Since you are not treating me as a son, I think I can pull out of the relationship.
Eddie Otigbo, yes. Would it be fair, as some people would say, that the North is the problem? And because, based on leadership comes from the North, as we have it now, and to just single out an individual as the president and then confer a region as the problem of Nigeria? Would it be fair?
No, that cannot be fair. The problem is a general problem facing all of us. Yes, the North may be blamed for one or two things, for, perhaps not looking at other regions as brothers in terms of inclusion. Because
that's still on leadership here.
Yes, leadership. Leadership. It's still leadership. What is compounding the problem is the charade that we call federalism, which is unitary. And that's why there are calls that 1963 constitution, where the federating units were even stronger than the center. It was the other way around. Rather than go to Abuja now and share money, it was the federating units, the 3 or 4 regions, the Midwest joining later, that will, give money to the center to run government. But when the military struck, all these things, came down, like a house of cards. So it will not be fair to say that, okay, the North is a problem. No. Everybody has a share. But the major problem is leadership have not been able to carry along everybody. There's no justice, there's no fairness, and there's no equity. So you don't just, unless you're talking about leadership, from the North, and it's not only North that has led this country. Southwest have been there. Southeast, ceremonially, Zik and the rest of them. So it can, let us not just, reduce it to a northern problem. It's a general problem.
The program is Perspectives this morning, and looking at calls by prominent Nigerians. And I could just go on further to say that by Nigerians, for Nigeria as a country to hold, the drums of war that are sounding all over are disheartening, and people are calling for caution. President Olusegun Obasanjo had come out categorically to say that we cannot afford another war, and that he had seen it, he'd been there, and what came out of that 67-70 war is not something we want to go back to. Tanko Yakasei had talked about where we all need each other. The North needs the South needs the North, East, West, and so in that we find strength. And so these calls are coming. Khan is making itself known. His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, is coming out to say that more than any other time, this is one time that we must make Nigeria stay and hold for development and all of that. So my colleague, my guest this morning, commentator on national and international matters, public affairs analyst Eddie Ochibo, giving his thoughts on what we have on ground today. We'll go for a commercial break. Be back with you shortly.
We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Are you serious? For real, are you serious? It's Victor FM.
Perceptions could change. Opinions can be formed with more and accurate information. Get all sides, views, and opinions on topical issues. Have your say on Perspectives. With Twin Alabi at 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays on Invicta 98.9 FM. Perspectives. All sides, all views, all individuals are welcome.
Welcome back. Is the program Perspectives this morning, and we're looking at Nigeria as a nation and why we must, help to keep Nigeria going. I go back to the time of General Yakubu Gowon and even the 67-70 war. There was a slogan to keep Nigeria one. It's a task that must be done. And then we had his name, Go On too. We go on with one Nigeria. Strong talks then. They were very strong slogans that kept us. Now, coming to that and adding to it, there have been conferences. We've had conferences on what we need to talk about. And Jonathan's national conference will still stand out, where Nigerians all, from all over came to talk about why
we draft constitution.
Yes, draft constitution was there. Why what to do to keep us going and to keep us as one nation. But nothing came out of that since then. Where's the national conference? Where's the dialogue table that we can come to now to help salvage the situation that we're in now?
This issue of national conferences culminating in that 2014, which was well organized and represented by all shades and opinion of this country. Was where we thought there could be some respite and to put us back on track. But that very conference was just kept on the shelf there, dusting away for reasons that we don't even know. So now to even begin to talk about a national dialogue, when you have a good document that everybody say, okay, it was okay, why don't we revisit the 2014 National Conference document? Look at it, tweak it the way that anything that is wrong there, rather than to even say that we should come and judge you again and spend billions and billions. Even the constitutional amendment that they are doing now, Senate is doing a separate one, House of Representatives, and they have voted billions. These billions now, if you go and do forensic audit of what is, you'll be surprised that even 1/4 of that money they are claiming to spend is not there. So there are a lot of contradictions. There's a lot of contradiction. The efforts being made now by Obasanjo, Yakasa, and the rest of them, I hope they'll be able to convince the political leadership, not only the president. The rest, the way it is now, it's as if the president is overwhelmed. There are so many things that he doesn't even know about. So bring in the National Assembly, bring in all the strong and critical stakeholders of this country. Let them talk. What is really wrong? What do we address so that we can go forward? There's nothing wrong with talking, but there's everything wrong with war. Rather than war, we should jojo and then put Nigeria back on track. Nigeria cannot afford another war. The masses of Nigeria, they have seen enough suffering that now drag them into war. War will remain of them. Somebody that was already falling doesn't even need to fall again. So you just see that people will just be dying and fainting and dying because we are overwhelmed. Our political leadership must wake up, to this challenge and see how. And I think the way to go is address some of these injustices. Even if you say you are a tough leader, address some of these injustices that people are talking about. Southwest, Oduduwa is trying to pull out. IPOB, Middle Belt, and so on and so forth. Nobody is satisfied. Bring us. What do you want? What can we do? You may not address all the problems in one day, but you can start from somewhere to bring about some calm and peace, at least.
One of the critical stakeholders of the nation today would be the youth.
Yes.
And you've talked about the range, of the youth and
who are now unemployed.
And they are also the ones we find on our streets now in this agitation, confrontation with government. IPOB took a decision some few days back on sit at home,
and the people actually,
they adhered to that. Yes, adhered to that. A government in another government, how possible is that? Possible. And then, of course, we also see what is coming out from the Southwest too on agitations on why they want to just pull out and all of that. The noise again from the Middle Belt too, that even apologizing to the South is that we were sorry that we were part of that war. I read another piece on that too. And so, and of course from the North, the vexation and anger that's coming on what the people of the North in different parts of the country are facing. So that brings the issue, to a level of very serious concern. And then when you see these young ones and their stake in the Nigerian nation, what are your concerns here?
Those are very red flags, very dangerous signals, for us to know that things are fast falling apart. And according to late Chinua Achebe, said, when things fall apart, the center cannot hold. What the political leadership don't understand is that they think when things fall apart, they in the center can hold. Even if they have the capacity and the resources to run away, they have relatives, they have people who will be affected by any form of commotion or insurrection. So the danger of having 51% of the strong force, the youth is the strong force of any nation, who are supposed to be, engaged, but they are roaming the streets. Most of them, they get recruited into kidnapping syndicates and the rest of them. So, one of the greatest things that, if they want to take any step, is to address the issue of the youth. EndSARS, how it ended. If you listen to the Arise interview yesterday with the president said something that to me it was not even. He said those youths who wanted to march and come and drive me away from Aso Rock. That is talking down on the youth. Don't talk to them. You need to encourage them. You need to inspire. The leader should inspire. I think he missed a very big opportunity to talk to the youth in that interview, but rather I see them as enemies who were marching. He just said the EndSARS people who just were marching to come and drive me away from Aso Rock. These are very serious germane issues. Because the greatest problem facing us today is the youth unemployment and that army of youths who have nothing to do. And most of them are graduates.
Restiveness, yeah.
Yes, restiveness. Serious restiveness. You see a family, with 4 or 5 graduates, none is working. None is able to get a job. But the place you can get job is just for the rich. when CBN, Central Bank, is recruiting, just they handpick sons and daughters of senators, top politician ministers, and forget the real youth that should be part of the system. And one thing that political leadership or the rich or the wealthy don't know is that if you are rich and you have a mansion, living, large amongst large crowds of poor people, you are poor. You are poor. If you don't touch life,
you're not safe.
You are not safe. You are not safe. And today, tell me some of these members of our House of Representatives or senators who can go to their districts or constituencies and sleep fine. They don't go. They don't even go near there because they'll be lynched. Rather you hear newspaper adverts about constituency projects that do not even exist, even with offices. So some of these things have to address. We need to, first and foremost, make governance less attractive, address the issue of poverty and unemployment, especially of the youth. So you cannot be taking 13 million a month and people cannot buy a tin of garri to chop, to eat. It's a difficult thing. And you smile to the bank every month with millions of naira, and you call yourself a people's representative. Ministers do anything they like with our money, and simply because the people, the youth, look at it and say one day they will be able to. The government will be able to remember them. For how long will they wait? Our youths have waited long enough. There must be some genuine, programs to carry the youth along.
Perspectives this morning. Let's come to the public domain. Let's get to hear your thoughts on Nigeria and holding on to Nigeria. I hear and I know that there will be a lot of concern here, and so let me just use this opportunity to say that we want you to be civil with your comments. Yes, things are bad, no doubt about it. But again, let's get your contribution on how we can make Nigeria hold and make it a better nation. Numbers to call to be part of the program: 081 40,000 989, 081 40,000 989, or 070 87 800 989, 070 87 800 989. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Your guest, good morning.
Thank you very much.
I'm to Engineer Manuel.
Yes, let's say.
Your guy has spoken very well. You see, Mr. Chairman, the truth, I won't let this statement. If there is fairness, equity, and justice, all this agitation will not be in place. But if we have the right leaders in place, things will turn for the better. But so far, the ones we have, all that they are after is their own interest, not the interest of the masses. We are far from getting it right. How will it be, Mr. Chalabi, in this country, in this age of time, that people bandage will be written to a community that they have to pay 12 million naira before they go to farm this season? And the government, instead of them to do something about it, they will be pursuing shadows instead of them going after the real thing. Now look at the statement of Mr. President yesterday. For God's sake, as a leader, the leader makes such a statement that the youth should behave themselves. If not so, no investors will come to this country to invest. For God's sake, is it not height of failure on the part of the government that a graduate will finish with a first class to get a job will be a problem because they have secure, juicy employment for them. Then the children of the common man, they can go and die. So what is the need sending your child to school if he cannot secure a job in his own country?
Yeah, Engineer Emmanuel, these are, fault finding, but again, we're saying that solutions, from your...
The only solution there, let's have leaders that have this country at heart. Until then, if we don't have leaders that have this country at heart, that's how we'll be running around as if we're just one place.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Emmanuel. All right. Stay with your calls. Hello, good morning.
Jim, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, I guess, in the house.
Good morning, my brother.
Kure is the name.
Right, Kure.
Yes, Jim, I keep on saying it. Politicians are the same thing. And on tomorrow, I still stand on that way. Politicians are the same thing. Me, all I want the APC government to do, if they cannot secure and property, please, they should honorably resign. Because we get to know now, before somebody go to farm now, you have to negotiate and pay somebody that did not know how did they get that land, how will they even cultivate, whether you farm it to bring a fruit seed or not. So if is that the next level they promise us in this country? Honestly, the insecurity is going out of hand. So the government of the day should just do the needful. Otherwise, I'll call them complete failure. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
All right, great there. Okay, we'll take one more. Come back again to our guest. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
This is Arokoyo.
Arokoyo, yes.
Yeah. Kudos to your guest. We have set the mind of, I believe, most of the Nigerians this morning. Sometimes when you look at the affairs of this nation, you will know that we are going nowhere. Especially with the caliber of men who claim to be our leaders. There's just no way Nigeria could move forward from here. With this same set of human beings who are acting as if they are the enemy of the country themselves. These are people who can't be corrected. Anybody who stands to want to correct them is an enemy. You don't make progress like that. The nation has been. Sometimes when you look at these people, they have nothing to offer. And that is why things are apart.
It was a sweeping statement. There are some, all cannot be said to be bad. I mean, there are.
I can't hear you.
So you were making a sweeping statement that as if all leadership or all of them are bad.
No. Tony Alabi kept around in this nation. Is it not a pity? Are you proud of this nation? Over this nation to us?
What can we do to make it better? What can we do? What can we do
to make it better? Let the leaders, let the listening leaders that should take corrections. You can't be driving roughly and you're not held up in a ditch. Tony Alabi, can you be driving rough and you're not crash? Let's be honest. It's not.
Okay, Arokoyo, I get you, from where you're coming. Eddie, just on that, let me start from the rear with Arokoyo, that leadership, must take correction and must listen and all of that.
I mean, it's absolutely right. I mean, because leadership, according to how we understand it as they brought us up, is they consider leaders should be a dustbin where everything ends. The leadership should be a leadership that leads from front, not leaders or leadership that we blame everything all on to the other party, not him. He is like a god. Leadership is not about grandstanding. It's about inspiration. So I think Orukoya is absolutely right. You remember on the national network, one anchor, I think it was Adeshina, the issue of ancestral lands, when Adeshina made that very, very terrible statement that you want to die because of ancestral land, that if you want to, then you will die. So the most of the problems are not just the problem of the president. His handlers are not helping matters. I think they are aware that, look, the president is advancing age. So some of these things, they should help him and bring in things that we carry all of us along. Not like Arokoyo said, that you don't want to take any correction. If you correct, if you give advice against what they are doing, you are considered as enemy of the administration. That ought not to be. The leadership is about listening and making corrections and inspiring the people, encouraging them. You don't talk down on the people that voted you.
One of the times that we've had the president talk or address the nation would be the Arise interview
Yes.
That was held yesterday. People are talking about that interview, and people are talking about the response of the president to issues and questions, matters that borders on Nigeria. How impressed or unimpressed were you with the president, addressing, talking?
If I must say, if I were, I'm sure the handlers, whoever, approved or organized an interview, I think they are regretting now. But to we, the masses who are watching, I think it was good for us to know the state of our president, because most of the questions were not addressed. They were not presidential. They were not presidentially addressed. Rather, it turned out to be a platform of blame game. You imagine, I think one of the callers talked about how the president said that the youth should bring about peace. Otherwise, even if they have first class and all this thing, they may end up dying without getting a job. Does that sound presidential? So I'm not impressed about the interview, but it was good that it was heard. So now people will know why all this while the president has not been talking to us as a nation. So, but now we've seen his state and then his mindset about issues affecting Nigeria. I think that's one of the major problems we are facing. He seems not to have good grasp of the challenges facing the nation and the challenges facing him as the president of this country. Because if he fails, the history, the legacy, history will hold him to account. Posterity will hold him to account. The president must always, which I'm sure he's not aware of, that the buck stops at his desk, not the desk of the youth or Mr. Towa Alabi or Edio Chibo or my friend there. No. If Nigeria fails, history will hold him responsible. And so that is what I think his handlers and his myriad of advisors should guide him on. But it seems that everybody is afraid of the president. Nobody wants to tell him the truth, or perhaps if they tell him, he doesn't act. That's why he has aides to take care of this angle, this. He doesn't even need to do anything, just to advise. Let them advise you. So where do we go? How do we carry the youth along? These people are making us. What do we do? But rather you talk down on them and say you will shoot them and all this. These things will not help us. It will rather compound the situation we find ourselves.
Okay, we just can take one more call and then we bring it to a close. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Toya Alabi.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. My name is Musa Bala. The president will go down a successful president by where he started his leadership. And on the issue of the solution to this country, people should be sincere on the word go. Now, all of a sudden, we have Basadio Khan, Sultan of Sokoto, now trying to find out how Nigeria should succeed. And the same people created the problem. I'll give you an example. The same Obasanjo says the current administration have an agenda of nation and Islamization. And he did that deliberately, knowing fully well that that was not true. And that really makes some people to be very apprehensive and started thinking otherwise. And we saw some group of elders that people were burning down areas and you call them ungodly men. When the president now says that, okay, we are going to deal with them with the language you understand, they suddenly came out and started another problem. And the same Obasanjo called the agitator, he used the word stupid and nobody talked to him. So people decided to create artificial problem in Nigeria simply because the system have changed. Private jet cannot be buying now. Property abroad cannot be getting again.
Yeah,
so many things have been changed.
I don't have the time now. If you just cap it up for us, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Well, Eddie, that's Musa Bala, artificial problems. He talked about people creating artificial problems.
I only use the little time I have on that. Let me just, end by saying that those who are calling for war, drumming for war, must remember that even though certain developed countries today are pretending that they will support them when in case there's war. It's not like that, or it won't go. Look at the way Syria has gone, Libya, and all other countries that are on fire today. It started like a joke. But the danger there is that once we lose it, the developed countries will just find a big market for weapons, to sell us weapons to kill ourselves, and while they'll be smiling to the bank. So we should not fall for the trick of the West or East or whatever, all the developed countries. Nigeria is a target. It's a target for people to see, because if we now go into war, most of these developed countries will be benefiting, because they will be. We cannot manufacture weapons, so they will arm ourselves and be killing ourselves. And the money that we should use to feed ourselves will be used for arms and weapons, while blood will be flowing everywhere. So war is not an option. I want to appeal to the federal government, especially the president, that the people that Musa Bala, my friend, is saying that they are the problem now. Whatever they have, even if they are problem yesterday, let them come as elders and statesmen. Let the president listen to them and find the right path that we take us out of the path of insurrection that we are now taking. That path should be avoided. Let there be compromise, let there be dialogue, and let there be a way forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Perspectives today, and talking about the Nigerian nation, that we must hold it. We must, do all we can to keep the country going. Yes, concerns are there about how we're going now, and the path that we're treading on, and this is a path that people are saying could just lead us into disintegration and all of that, and that we just do not want. Eddie Otigbo, my guest this morning, a public affairs analyst, commentator on national and international matters. He's been my guest this morning. Job, thank you for connecting us with the people. Wisdom, thank you for putting us in the pictures. We'll come back with perspectives on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend.